guys, this is another video to show you how to calculate how to solve a quadratic equations. So this one is going on this one I'm going to use factorization. So before we start, just don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you won't lose any of our future videos. Okay, so let's say for example we are asked to solve this quadratic equation, that is x squared. Let's use 18 here. X squared plus 9x plus 18 is equal to 0. Okay, so for this one now, when you're dealing with when I want to use factorization now, the first thing that should do is you multiply the first term, this one, times the last term. So it will be x squared times 18. You get 18 x squared. Okay, so the next step now is to look for two factors that when you multiply them together they give you 18x squared, and then when you add them together they give you 9x squared. Okay, for example, let's say our factors are a and b. So what it means now is if you take your two factors a and then you add that factor to b, the other factor, this should give you 9x. Okay, and then when you say a times b, that should give you 18x. Okay, so let's look for those factors. So the easy way to do this now is to list all the factors, or to list all the numbers that can be multiplied to get 18, and then see if their sum give you 9x. Okay, so the first pair of it will be 1 times 18. So if you say 1 plus 18 now, you don't get 9x, so it means these are not the factors. Okay, and then let's try 2 times 9. So for 2 times 9 as well, if you add them together, 2 plus 9 is equal to 11. So it means these are not the two factors. And then now, if we say 3 times 6, if you say 3 plus 6 now, you get 9. So it means 3x, 3 and 6 are your two factors. Okay, so now we go back to our equation. So it means the factors for this equation will be 3 and 6. So the next step now is you put your two brackets like this, and then you put your x here and your x here, and then here this should be equal to 0. And then here you take these two factors. So the first bracket will be plus 6, and then this one will be plus 3. So it means now this quadratic equation can be factored to this form using factorization. Okay, and then now to find the value of x now, here we are multiplying two brackets to get 0. So it means either of this is equal to 0 or both of them is equal to 0. So now we separate these two brackets to say x plus 6 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. So here now it means if x plus 6 is equal to 0, so it means x will be equal to negative 6, or x will be equal to negative 3 here. So this implies that our x is equal to negative 3 or negative 6. Okay, so here we've got our roots of this quadratic equation. So to just prove that our method is correct, let's just take these roots and put them back into this equation so that you can see if we get 0 here. Okay, so let's start with negative 3. So with negative 3, it will be negative 3 squared plus 9 times negative 3 plus 18. So negative 3 squared will be equal to 9, and then 9 times negative 3 to be negative 27 plus 18. So if you say 9 minus 27 plus 18, here you get 0. So it means negative 3 is correct. Okay, and then now let's test negative 6. So it will be negative 6 squared plus 9 times negative 6 here plus 18. Okay, and then negative 6 squared will be equal to 36 plus 9 times negative 5. This is negative 54 plus 18. So you can see that here, if we say 36 plus minus 54 plus 18, this is equal to 0. So it means our solution, negative 3 and negative 6, are correct. Okay, so this is a way of solving quadratic equation using the factorization formula, using the factorization method. Okay, now let's look at another problem now. So you can see on the problem that we're doing here, we're having all positive, it was all positive terms here. There's now a situation where one of the terms would be a negative term. For example, on this one here, our equation here is x squared plus 3x minus 14 is equal to 0. So like we did on the last one, we take the first term and then you multiply it by the last term to get negative 40 x squared. Okay, and then now we look for two terms that when you multiply them together they give us negative 40 x squared, and then when you add them together they give us positive 3x. So you can see that after multiplying you are getting a negative number. So it means one of those two factors should be a negative number and the other should be a positive number. Okay, so let's first list all the possible numbers that when you multiply them together they give us 40. Okay, so the first one is 1 and 40, the next one 2 and 20, and we've got 4 and 10, and we've got 5 and 8. Okay, so you can see here, isn't here, if we add them together is supposed to give you a positive number. So what it means now, it means the bigger number will be the positive number. So we just put negatives number here, because here we are supposed to get a sum which is positive. So it means that the positive number here will be the bigger number. So now let's try to add this to see if after adding we get a sum of negative 3. So the first one, negative 1 plus 40, this will be 39, so it's not the one. Then the next one, negative 2 plus 20, you get 18, so it means this is not the one. And then if you say negative 5 plus 8, you get 3. So this means that these are our factors. And then now we put our two brackets, and then our x here, and then our x here. This should be equal to 0. And then here we've got negative 5 and positive 8. So it means now here we are multiplying two numbers and we are getting 0. So it means either of these brackets should be equal to 0 or both. So now we're saying x minus 5 is equal to 0, or x plus 8 is equal to 0. Okay, so we solve now separately. So it means here x will be equal to 5, or x is equal to negative 8. So x here is equal to 5 or negative 8. So these are our two solutions for the equation. Okay, now let's prove that these solutions are correct by putting them back into our quadratic equation. Let's start with 5. So putting 5 back into that equation, we will get 5 squared plus 3 times 5 minus 40. This will be 5 squared here is 25 plus 3 times 5 is 15 minus 40. So if you say 25 plus 15 minus 40, we get 0 here. So it means our 5 here is correct. Okay, and then the next one now, let's test for negative 8. So we've got negative 8 squared plus 3 times negative 8 here minus 14. So here negative 8 squared will be 64, and then 3 minus 8 is equal to minus 24 minus 14. So here you can see, say 64 minus 24 minus 40, this is equal to 0. So it means now our solution here is correct. So it means our x is equal to 5 or negative 8. Okay, so now let's look at another scenario. Like for example, the one that we have here, where both the signs here are negative. For example, here we've got x squared minus 10x minus 24 is equal to 0. Okay, so just like we did on the last two, we multiply the first term times the last term to get negative 24 x squared. Okay, now we look for two factors that when you multiply them together they give us negative 24x, and then when you add them together they give us negative 10. So let's just list all the factors that can be multiplied to get 24. So the first one would be 1 and 24, and then 2, 12, and then we've got 4, we've got 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. Okay, so you see here after adding these two factors, you're supposed to get a negative number. So it means now the bigger number will be the one that will be negative. So we just put our negatives on them, all these bigger numbers, and then now we add them so that we see which one will give us negative 10x. So here if you say 1 plus negative 24, we get negative 23, so it's not the one. And then the next one here, if you say 2 minus 12, here we get 10. So it means these are our set of values, our set of factors. And then we put those two brackets, and our first x here and another x here, this is equal to 0. And then now we put our factors. So this will be plus 2, this one will be minus 12. Okay. And then now we are multiplying these two numbers, these two brackets to get 0. So either of these two is equal to 0. So it means x plus 2m is equal to 0, or x minus 12 is equal to 0. So on this one here, it means our x will be equal to negative 2. So here we are taking this positive 2 to the other side. Whenever a number goes to the other side of the equal sign, its sign changes. So that's why here we have got x is equal to negative 2. Then on this side, this negative 12 here, it was negative on this side. So it means when it goes to the other side, now it becomes positive. So here we have x is equal to 12. So we've got our solution, x is equal to negative 2 or 12. Okay, so now let's test our roots to see if they fit, if they can fit into our quadratic equation. Let's start with negative 2. So putting back negative 2 into this equation, we'll be having negative 2 squared minus 10, negative 2 minus 24. Okay, so this one, negative 2 squared will be 4, and then minus 10 times minus 2 would be positive. Here we are multiplying a negative number and a negative number, so it means we will be getting a positive number. So we have got plus 20 and then minus 24. So here if you say 4 plus 20 minus 24, this is equal to 0. So it means this solution is correct. And then now we test for 12. For 12, they back into our quadratic equation, it will be 12 squared minus 10 times 12 minus 24. So 12 squared is 144, and then minus 10 times 12, that's 120, minus 24. So that one will be 144 minus 120 minus 24, which is equal to 0. So it means our solution here is correct. So it means our x is equal to negative 2 or 12. Okay, so this is another scenario. Then let's look at the last scenario, when only the middle term, the term with x here, is the one that is a negative value. So just like with the last examples that we did, we multiply the first term and the last term. So it will be 6 times x squared, which is 6x squared. And then now we look for two factors that when you multiply them together, we give the product to be 6x squared, and then when you add them together, you get negative 5x. So let's just list all the factors or all the numbers that can multiply each other to get 6x squared. So the first one will be 1 and 6, and then also you have 2 and 3. Okay, so you can see here that our product is positive, but our sum is, okay, so here we are multiplying two numbers to get a positive number, but when you add those two numbers, we are getting a negative number. So what it means now, it means both our factors will be negative. So if you try this one, the first one is negative 1 and negative 6. If you multiply these two, we get positive 6x, but then if you add these two now, it will be negative 7. So it means these are not the factors. But if you look at these ones now, here you've got negative 2 and negative 3. If you multiply these two, negative 2 times negative 3, we get positive 6. But when you add this together, you get negative 5. So it means these are our factors. So the next step now will be putting our two brackets, and then our x here, and then the other x here. This is equal to 0. And then now we take our two factors. Here we put negative 2 here, then here we put our negative 3. And then now here we are multiplying these two brackets to get 0. So it means either of these two will be equal to 0 or both. So we say x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. So we solve this one separately, so this will become x is equal to 2, because now we are taking this 2 to the other side. So here this 2 was negative. When it goes to the other side now of the equal sign, its polarity or its sign changes. So it means here it was negative, on the other side it will be positive. So here we've got x is equal to 2. Or, and then this one as well, here our 3 is negative here, and then if it goes to the other side of the equal sign, it will become positive. So also here x is equal to 3. So it means here our x is equal to 2 or 3. Now we've got our two roots. Let's test our two roots to see if it will be true for this quadratic equation. So let's start with 2. So we'll be having 2 squared minus 5 times 2 plus 6. This will be 2 squared is 4, and then 5 times 2, it will be minus 10 plus 6. So 4 minus 10 plus 6, this will give us 0. So it means our 2 here is correct. Now let's try for 3. So if you put 3 into this equation, you'll be having 3 squared minus 5 times 3 plus 6, and then 3 squared is 9, and then minus 5 times 3, that's 15, plus 6. And then if you say now 9 minus 15 plus 6, you get 0. So it means our root 3 is correct. So it means our x is equal to 2 or 3. Okay, so this is how to solve quadratic equations using factorization. Okay.